Have you ever wondered where Jehovah's Witnesses come from? Vivarium has the answer.
I don't want to see an ordinary film. I want to see something extraordinary.
Your sacrifice completes my sanctuary of 1,000 testicles.
You ever feel as if your mind had started to erode?
Let's rock indeed. Welcome to 1000 Wives of Weird, a podcast that is a celebration of everything weird, mostly movies. I'm Brad Hefner, and with me, as always, is
Billy Martell.
And this week, we are talking about a movie that I really enjoyed on the first watch and cooled significantly on the second. It's a little movie called Vivarium.
Vivarium. Now, this came out in 2020, didn't it?
Letterboxd lists it as 2019,
Okay.
so that might be when it premiered at a festival or something.
Sure.
I think it was released in 2020 on Prime.
Gotcha. All I know is that I first was made aware of it when Red Letter Media reviewed it as part of their 2020 catch-up videos.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Did they enjoy it?
They seem to have mixed responses to it.
Well,
which
that's
is going
a
to
very
be
mixed
very
movie,
similar to what we're going to be doing today.
Yes. Very briefly, we believe that you should know as little going into a movie as you can, so we'll just very briefly sum up the plot. Vivarium stars Imogen Poots and Jesse Eisenberg, a couple who are looking for a house, and they are lured into this development called Yonder, and they cannot escape. And things go from there.
Right.
And we also like to tell you whether this movie is worth watching or not, in case you don't want to be spoiled as we go into the plot. So, Billy, would you recommend Vivarium?
Okay. So, no. I don't think I would. But I want to be clear that it's not... This isn't an offensive movie.
No.
This isn't going to ruin your day. It kind of made me mad, but, I have different buttons that get pushed when I watch movies, and I feel like most other people do. And for me, what pushed my buttons was that I felt like the movie thought it was way smarter than it actually was.
Yes.
And the pretentiousness of the film... My perceived pretentiousness in the film annoyed me greatly. That being said, I don't think it would hurt you to watch it. I just don't think it will add anything to your life. So I would argue go back and watch any episode of The Twilight Zone.
This is essentially 3 episodes of The Twilight Zone sort of remixed together.
Yes.
And maybe a 4th one for the ending. But it's
sure, maybe. It's mostly just an... I would argue it's actually just a single episode of The Twilight Zone, not even from the 40-minute seasons, from the 20-minute seasons, and then they just, keep stretching it out until it's almost 3 hours long. And I'm just sitting there, and then
this is only an hour and a half movie.
Is it?
Yes.
It felt like 3. And then at the end of the movie, some interesting things start happening. Not going to spoil anything yet, obviously, but some interesting things started happening at the end, but by that, I so didn't care.
Gotcha.
So, I didn't enjoy this movie.
Okay,
Although I will say, the actors killed it.
Okay.
If I had to say something nice, the actors were fantastic.
I would recommend it.
Okay.
It's not a strong recommendation.
Sure.
This is definitely a single-watch movie. And again...
Clearly, since you cooled on it on the second viewing.
And again, whenever I have to watch a movie and take story notes... It's the worst watch of any movie. We were originally going to talk about a movie that I love, Why Don't You Play in Hell?
Right.
Aside from it being very complex and me having very little time, I could feel like this is frustrating to have to take notes about. I love this movie, but this is pissing me off.
There are a lot of characters in that movie.
So
and this movie only has 2 characters.
There are 3.
Kind of, yeah.
There's 4. We can't exclude Martin, best part of the movie.
Or 5, the lady at the preschool earlier.
A very important character.
Or all the kids at the beginning.
Yes. We'll get into it.
There are a lot of characters in this movie. God damn.
But this movie has... If this movie were an hour long, it would be perfect.
I agree.
If it were chopped down to an hour... It's a shame we can't just have hour-long movies.
Back in old Hollywood days, we used to
charge a little bit less of a ticket price.
Sure. Maybe have another hour-long movie in front of it.
Or like a half-hour short.
Or a half-hour short, sure.
Yeah, something. Yeah,
maybe a newsreel. Everyone gets dressed up to the nines whenever you go to the movies.
Find out what the Nazis are doing.
What we're saying is, why can't America be like it was in the 30s, where people like us were fine and nothing else was going on?
Aside from the Dust Bowl.
Aside from the Dust Bowl.
And the Great Depression.
And the Great Depression. And all the racism.
And
all the
Dillinger's
sexism.
crime wave.
And Dillinger's crime... Never mind. I don't remember what my point was.
But anyway, there's interesting imagery in Vivarium. There's some very cool concepts. Sure. They're just stretched out too far. Like, there's a lot of weird, creepy things in here. Right. And I appreciate a lot of the production design, a lot of the ideas.
Oh, the production design is awesome.
It's just, the big complaint that I've seen is that this movie is repetitive.
Sure.
Which is part of the point. And we'll discuss it.
When you're trapped in a single location, that's going to be a thing. My
problem is sort of your problem in that this is a movie that is incredibly unsubtle about what it is about.
Yes.
It's commentary on suburbia, commentary on parenthood. It will obviously get into it, but it's very, very obvious. And on my first watch, I was just soaking in the visuals, soaking in the situation more than like looking at like... I was just vibing with it that first time.
Sure.
And this time, like actually critically looking at it, I'm like, yes, there are a lot of problems.
So maybe the problem is that I already knew what the sort of shape of the movie was, having seen a video where people were talking about it previously.
Possibly.
And maybe that part of the experience was stolen from me.
Gotcha.
Maybe.
All I knew about this movie was people didn't think very highly of it because it has a lowish rating.
Yeah.
And it's sort of backroomsy, if you know what I mean.
No, what does that mean?
The back rooms are like an internet thing where it's like creepy liminal spaces, like if you're ever in a school at night, like that sort of uncanny valley.
Sure.
But with physical location.
Gotcha. And this is actually a thing with this director. One of his other movies, I was looking up his history. He hasn't made too many features.
No.
But one of his only other features, the plot logline on IMDb reads something like, a land surveyor has to measure a piece of land, but the more he measures it, like the more of it there is, and he can't quite finish the job. So this guy appears to have a thing for just scary locations.
Great. Yeah. I want more scary location movies.
Sure. It's an underutilized concept in modern horror cinema.
And that's what I liked about this, is it's pretty novel. Like, not... all the ideas have been done by other people, but 2019, 2020 movie, I haven't seen something like this in a while. I appreciate it for what it is. All right, now we're going to start walking through the movie, going through it bit by bit, and giving our observations and such.
Sure.
It's directed by Lorcan Finnegan.
Yes, Irish folk hero Lorcan Finnegan.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, I love the Clancy Brothers song, Lorcan Finnegan.
It's the best one. It's the best one.
Now, you cannot deny that this movie starts out wonderfully with this beautifully disturbing footage of the baby cuckoo.
Okay, yes. That did upset me.
Yes.
And it was intended to upset, so they did their job.
And again, establishing very early the unsubtle themes that we're going to be addressing.
Very muchly so. Also, I want to point out that the film is produced by Saban Films.
The Power Rangers people.
The Power Rangers. So I wrote down in my notes, this means that either the Power Rangers or the Digidestined will be making an appearance by the end of the film.
Were you angry that Imogen Poots did not play Rita Repulsa in this?
The general shape of the plot was a little bit more Digimon than it was Power Rangers.
Okay.
So I was more upset that neither of them got a little Digivice, and that the villain was never revealed to be the D-Reaper.
Gotcha. I don't know anything about Digimon.
I know. There are people who will understand what I said.
Well, no one listens to this.
Please listen to this so someone will understand what I'm saying. I don't want to be alone.
All you Digimon addicts, subscribe to our podcast, where this is the first time we mention Digimon.
This is going to be an all Digimon-related podcast from here on out.
Yes.
No matter what movie we're talking about. Citizen Kane, it's about Digimon now.
I'm just bitter because I had a lot of people view Digimon as a rival to Pokemon.
Right.
Even though they're very different.
Sure.
I had a rival to Digimon. Analog Monsters. Analmon.
Analmon?
Analmon.
Analmon.
Yeah.
Right.
Analog Monsters. It was like a turntable.
Sure.
A cassette player.
Yeah. I remember that. Wasn't there like a misprint that went out when it was just called Anal Munchers?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
A cat walked across the keyboard.
Of course, yeah.
As I was sending the show Bible to somebody. And I didn't want to look like an asshole and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Anal Munchers."
Especially since the guy came back with such positive feedback.
Yeah, he was like, "This is bold.
This is."
See, I was too early before the eating ass meme caught on.
Exactly.
Because I launched this right after 9/11. I was like, the world needs joy.
Yeah, you were a little late to the party, I think.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was also a child at the time, so I had to gather capital.
Of course.
But we see the baby cuckoo knocking an egg out of the nest. Blammo! And then a baby bird. Kapow!
And the sound effects appear on screen, like in the Batman series.
And because it's a baby bird, it's gross and alien looking.
Yes.
It looks like the little chickens in Eraserhead just killing other baby birds.
Baby birds can be pretty fucking gross, especially the closer you look at them.
Yes, they're awful.
And you are awfully close in HD to these baby birds.
And this cuckoo grows huge, eventually almost being able to swallow the host parent.
Yes.
I love this opening so much. It's so fucking upsetting.
Sure.
And gross. And it's nature, and it happens. Birds are terrible. Can you name one good bird?
They're Nuggets. Nuggets, the TikTok star. Her name is Nuggets, and she's a big fat chicken.
Okay.
Yeah. She's pretty sweet.
I'm sure she'll get milkshake ducked pretty soon. Next, we see Imogen Poots as Gemma with a G. Imogen Poots was in Green Room, and 28 weeks later. Gemma is a terrible teacher.
Oh, what she do that was terrible?
She just plays that idiot game where they pretend to be.
It's a fun game. She's
what
playing
the fuck
with
are they
kids.
supposed to be learning? Like,
she's teaching them motor skills. She's teaching them to use their imagination.
This dumbass has these kids pretend to be trees, and then she's like, "Oh, the wind's blowing."
Yeah,
there's no wind blowing. They're inside.
But she's playing.
She's lying to them.
She's playing
this
a fun
is the
game
problem with
the
public
kids.
schools. And granted, this takes place in the UK, but it's meant for America. You can tell, as all things are.
Her boyfriend is American, as we discover, which is
sex symbol Jesse Eisenberg. But school's out, like Alice Cooper.
School's out like Alice Cooper.
We've established that Gemma's a dog shit teacher, and we move on.
No! She's great.
We just need this scene of her being terrible, and then we move on. Outside, Gemma is accosted by an exposition woman who helps us learn that Gemma is trying to find a house.
Yes.
Her only purpose, she comes up, and as you do, you're just like, "Hey, how's the house hunting going?"
Right.
Bye.
Yeah. No, it honestly felt like it gave me a couple of flashbacks to the opening of fucking
Cyber Seduction.
Cyber Seduction and Secret Life.
Oh, I love obvious exposition characters.
It's great.
A dumb child is staring at a dead baby bird.
You're on fire today.
Maybe one from the beginning.
Probably.
There's a brief exchange where Gemma says it might be a cuckoo who needed a nest because that's just the way nature works.
Right.
And again, establishing this theme of like, there are creatures that'll do shitty things because that's just how they operate.
Right. And she says, nature. The little girl says that nature is horrible, and she says it's only horrible sometimes.
Yes.
And the way the editing and cinematography gave that line, I was like, that's gonna come back somehow. It never did, but like they gave that some very heavy weight in the film.
No, the point of the movie is that nature is horrible all the time.
Apparently. Yeah.
So apparently, this entire time Gemma was talking to this girl,
yes,
fucking Jesse Eisenberg was just up in the tree. Watching and listening like a creep, waiting for the girl to leave. Then he pretends to be the tree.
Yes.
Imitating the wind just like Gemma did earlier, which means either Jesse Bird, he was in Rio, right? He did the voice of Rio?
No, the voice of Rio was Johnny Depp.
That was Rango.
Oh my God, what am I thinking of? Well,
you're thinking of Rango.
What's Rio then?
Rio's the bird movie.
Oh, I don't know anything about that movie. I'm going to assume that yes.
Okay, sure. Jesse Bird. So either Jesse Eisenberg sat in on the class, maybe he was auditing it.
Sure.
Or he just likes to hide places and was up in the drop ceiling, like just up there like he was up in the tree. Or because she's so bad at teaching, maybe Gemma was practicing this, like going over a lesson plan at home, like, I gotta nail this tree thing.
I gotta nail the tree game.
I'm good up until the wind part. It's hard because I'm inside and there is no wind.
I've never been under this much pressure. I will say one thing. In reviews that I saw and also in Red Letter Media, they said that they thought Jesse Eisenberg was miscast in this movie.
I agree.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay. I thought he did a fine job. I think that I wouldn't have thought of him for the part. Like, you think Jesse Eisenberg, you think awkward genius. You don't think handyman who works on trees and shit.
No, absolutely not.
And you also don't think, I'm sorry, Jesse Eisenberg, likable. But
well, he's not likable in this movie.
He's not supposed to be. The character is supposed to be very morally gray. I thought that he did a pretty good job with the material that he had. I don't know whether I would have cast him in it either, but I thought he did a pretty good job. And
yeah,
I felt like people were kind of dismissing him a little bit.
Passable, like he's fine. It's not part of what makes the movie not work.
No,
it's just.
I will say another reason why he's in the movie is not necessarily because they had faith in him, but because he and Imogen Poots are executive producers.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably.
Well, I have a feeling that was more of a thing where it's like, hey, Jesse Eisenberg, do our small movie, we'll give you an EP credit.
Yeah, I think that might be... I think that getting these two actors was how the movie was made.
Gotcha.
Because, again, this director does not have a lot of feature credits to his name.
And they had also done a movie together right before this, I believe, called The Art of Self-Defense.
Oh, so maybe they met up with this guy during that, and they were like, let's work on a project together.
Maybe he accosted them on the back lot. And was like, you guys want an EP credit? That's what Irish people sound like.
Is the guy from... He's actually the guy... The movie Reality is based on this guy. He just followed them around being like, you used to be an actor before you put on that rat costume, right? Let's make movies together.
Jesse Eisenberg, who is called Tom, and I will go back and forth calling him Jesse Eisenberg and Tom.
Same. Imogen's name is Gemma.
Gemma, yes, I mentioned.
I'm gonna... Oh, okay. I'm gonna be going back and forth between that as well.
He buries the baby birds, and I don't know if it's offensive gibberish that he spouts, but it feels offensive. Like, it feels like...
Yeah, you get... The scene is tonally confused, because on the one hand... it seems to be like trying to communicate this idea that even though nature can be horrible, we as humans ascribe meaning through ritual.
Yeah.
The idea of burying a dead body is a ritualistic... It's an unnecessary ritualistic act that we do to provide meaning and sanity to our world. As opposed... But then they start mocking the ritual as they're doing it by singing the song. So I don't know if that's an intentional inversion of what they're doing.
I think you're reading way too much into it. I think...
The movie wants me to.
I don't know that it does for this part.
All right.
I think it's just like, oh, dead baby birds, we need to establish the cuckoo theme, we need to establish the nature theme. What do you do with dead things? You bury them. We need to establish that Tom's sort of an asshole, so he's going to make fun of it while he does it.
But if Tom is an asshole, why doesn't he just pick up the dead bird and throw it in a bin, and then we have Imogen Poots say...
Because you bury dead things.
And then have Gemma say, oh, Tom, you should have buried it. And he's like, it's just a piece of trash.
Hey, it's just a fucking dead baby bird.
Yeah, that's exactly... That's a good Jesse Eisenberg.
I know. I've seen The Social Network 85 times. Poots, my favorite movie. I love how sterile and boring it is.
I remember from our Oscars episode, David Fincher is your favorite filmmaker.
Absolutely. It's insane that the man who made Fight Club now just makes the most sterile like movies like that.
Yeah.
Then they go to a house selling place, like a realty office, the office for development. Some great imagery and shot composition. Again, there's some nice... This director is not completely incompetent.
No, no.
We see the seller from the back seated in identical model houses flanking him.
Yes.
This is Martin. Martin is the best.
Martin is the best part of this movie.
He's like the cousin.
Question.
He's like the cousin of the luggage salesman from Joe versus the Volcano.
He's like the bizarro version of the luggage man. Like, whereas the luggage man, they're very similar energy. But whereas the luggage man, there's just sort of like this. This is the
he's a force for good.
He's a force for good. Martin is unquestionably a force of evil.
Yes,
and the most unbelievable part of this movie comes when he says hi to them and they don't immediately turn around and run the fuck away.
Yes,
as any normal human would. Also, Martin is played by Jonathan Arris, who most people would probably know as the douchebag from Sherlock.
Oh, okay.
Not the main douchebag played by Benedict Cumberbatch, the other douchebag.
One of the Lestrade lackeys.
One of the Lestrade lackeys, yes.
Well, he's fucking fantastic.
He's so good.
He's
absolutely
literally the best part of the movie.
MVP of the movie.
Martin is creepy and unnatural and amazing. Mm-hmm. He gives his sales pitch. And even though Tom isn't on board and Gemma is like verbally, we're not interested.
Right.
They still agree to follow Martin to the Yonder development.
Yeah.
Why do they, like, it's not even justified in the script.
This is so fucking stupid. And this is where immediately my interest in the film began to wane. Because if you're going, the movie wants to be taken seriously.
Yes.
It wants to be taken as this prestige sci-fi film.
Yeah, this isn't done with a wink where it's like, this is a horror movie, they're making unnatural choices.
Right. It's not done with a wink, it's not done with like a, I don't know, like a Duffer Brothers sort of wink and a nudge.
Yeah.
This is a This is just
inexplicable.
An inexplicably dumb decision.
Where you have your characters verbally say they don't want to do this, and then have them do it.
This movie is trying to convince me that it's an Ari Aster movie.
Yes.
And yet the characters are acting like fucking Friday the 13th campers. Like, in order to make a decision like this work, you have to either make Martin much more believable and charming, make him a Ted Bundy who can talk anybody into anything.
Which would lessen what makes Martin great.
Exactly. Or you have to take away the entire idea of them being real-world people drawn into a strange location. You have to cut off that entire opening, start the movie with them walking into the office, and present the entire movie as a dream.
Let me give you a more streamlined way to do this.
Okay.
Have either character say, yeah, let's go see this house.
Sure.
Like, that's all you have to fucking do. Don't have your characters literally say, we don't want to see this house.
Right.
And then have them go see the fucking house.
Yeah. To quote John Mulaney, don't be taking anybody to no secondary location. You don't want to be taken in no secondary location.
At the Yonder development, and again, here's where we get some great imagery, every house is exactly the same, and there are seemingly hundreds of them.
Not only that, but we get a glimpse of the sky.
Yes,
and,
we'll get it.
It's more commented on later, but the sky literally looks like Andy's wallpaper from Toy Story.
Yeah, it's stationary cloud-like clouds, just like cotton ball clouds.
Right.
Again, great stuff.
Great stuff. And honestly, this is a weird comment to make, but it really reminded me of the production design from the early aughts Cat in the Hat movie.
Okay.
Which was also trying to mock suburbia. And that was the only good thing about that movie was the production design, because the director was a production designer.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he got his chance, and he blew it.
Apparently. It happens. It happens.
Martin shows them the number 9 house, which is nice, but bland to the point where it has a painting of itself inside.
That is a great touch.
It's a wonderful touch. There's going to be a lot of recursion. There's going to be a lot of looping around. It's a nice little subtle visual nod.
Yes.
They go into a nursery, which is prepared for a boy.
Yeah, it's painted blue. More praise on Jonathan Harris's acting. There's this great moment when they go into the kitchen for the first time.
Yes.
He opens the fridge and he says, a welcome gift basket, or what, I forget what he calls it. He calls it something more highfalutin. But he has a gift basket, and it's like a bottle of champagne and some strawberries. And he offers it to Imogen, and she says, "Oh, no, thank you, I'm driving." And he looks over at
Jesse Eisenberg.
And Jesse Eisenberg, he says, "Just a strawberry?" And Jesse Eisenberg says, "No, thanks, I'm driving," which is, funny. But
is
it's fine. But it cuts back to him. The real button on the scene is it cuts back to him. He looks like he's about to cry. He looks like they have just broken his world.
Well, I love it because, as we're going to find out, Martin is not a human.
No, he's not.
If it wasn't obvious,
fucking clearly.
But I took it as like, oh, nothing I've been trained for has prepared me for this nonsensical. It's almost like if you said that to a robot, and the robot's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Strawberries aren't alcoholic. You can drive after having a strawberry.
Which could have led to a much more interesting story that the movie does not follow up on, instead going in a much dumber direction. But we'll get into that as we go.
Martin asks if they have children. Mm-hmm. Gemma says no, not yet. And another great bit, this is something I love all throughout, Martin mimics her perfectly.
Yes.
It's a great disconcerting touch, like her hand movements,
super
her
disconcerting.
pitch. Again, there are such great ideas in this movie. Such great ideas, performances, executions. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Martin lets them out into the backyard, or as they say across the pond, the garden.
This is the one thing where I'm like, why is Jesse Eisenberg in this movie? It's so distracting to have an American in this environment. Like, why is he there?
Well, here's how Amerocentric I am.
Okay.
I saw Jesse Eisenberg. I saw Imogen.
Yes.
That's how you actually pronounce it?
Okay.
I know, I'm asking.
Oh, were you mispronouncing it
I was saying
earlier?
Imogen.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's Imogen. I do not know. I am also Amerocentric. So let's call her Gemma.
Okay.
Or Pootsy.
Let's call her Pootsy. Pootsy Collins.
Pootsy Collins.
Great bass player and actor. But I assumed, because Gemma had a British accent, that this took place in America.
Right.
And then twist.
Yeah.
It's a left-hand drive car. And I was like, oh man, I got M. Night Shyamalan. It's not America. What kind of sci-fi movie is this? But Martin lets them out into the back garden, and then he ghosts the fuck out on these losers.
He just, exactly. Just disappears like Batman.
He has Martin shit to do. He has to go back to the store and be a creep. He has
to go back and live with his grandfather, who tells him he's gonna kill him. Tantacuda.
Oh man, I'd love for this Martin and Tantacuda to face off. Or
oh my god.
Let's have all of cinema's great Martin. They just come together.
This is the League of Martins versus Tantacuda.
Tantacuda's so powerful.
The poster is just Tantacuda from the back, standing in front of just a gigantic wall of Martins.
And that actor is certainly dead.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'd have to CGI him like
like Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Yep. Gemma and Tom try to drive away, but the development has become an endless maze that keeps leading them back to number 9. Mm-hmm. This goes on for hours until they run out of gas right in front of number 9. Which now has lights on because it's dark.
Right.
Now, this is not my observation. Mm-hmm. This is something that someone else saw, and I don't know if it's intentional. But 9 is sort of like a circle with sort of a road leading to it, and then you can't get out of the circle.
It's this little spiral.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that might be why they chose 9.
That would be really clever if they did.
Yes.
Good on them. And if they didn't do it on purpose, fuck you.
Well,
but
I'm not gonna. Don't say fuck you for just choosing a number. They could have gone with 8, like a literal infinity symbol.
Right. That would work too.
They go inside and crack into that welcome basket.
Sure.
The strawberries have no taste. Another detail I love.
I do love that.
That's a wonderful, disconcerting thing where it's like the food is not real food. Like, it'll nourish, but not really.
It is later implied that there is also no smell.
Yes.
And they mention, in this scene when they go to bed, they mention
how silent
it is silent. There are no animals. There is no wind. There is no smell. There is literally no spice of life.
Yes. And these are things that I wish were conveyed better in the movie.
Oh my God, yes.
Aside from just like tossed off lines. And the mention that there is no wind is not brought up until the very end.
The literal very end of the movie. I'm doing a better job of telling the story right now by bringing it up now.
The next day, Tom climbs up on the roof. Always the climbing with this guy. It's like a fucking monkey.
Yeah.
But he sees that the development stretches on for miles. Mm-hmm. And in the sky, as we mentioned, hangs little cotton ball clouds. Again, this is a great image of just the vast spread of endless,
just
identical houses.
Entirely hopeless their situation.
And these houses are 2 stories. They're like this pale mint green. Nice, but again, not a lot of personality, not a lot of...
It's like, have you seen one of those... If you've ever seen one of those photos of the early suburban planned neighborhoods that they created back in the 50s, where like those really scary pictures where you'd have like a kid, like a guy, all of the people would be mowing their lawns at the same time.
Yes.
Like everything looks super uniform. That's exactly what this is, except obviously no people.
Yes. Scared, Tom suggests that they follow the sun and just walk in a straight line.
It's a very desperate attempt, but honestly, one thing I did appreciate about this movie is that, although this becomes an issue later on, a lot of the things that they said or tried were said or tried just as I was thinking of them.
Okay, yeah, they react the way people should react in this situation.
Yeah,
it's like,
which is one of the, except for what got them there in the first place. But once they're there, they do start to.
But here's the problem with this, and here's where accusations of it being repetitive are going to start to kick in.
Yeah,
as an audience, we already know they're stuck.
Right.
Like, even if we haven't read the description, we get it because we've seen movies before.
Exactly.
The characters just haven't accepted it. Yes. So this does start to get old, but it still worked for me because, again, it makes sense. Like, it's...
Sure.
I want to see this desperation. I want to see this, like, clawing at, like, okay, we're going to get out of this.
Generally in movies of this nature, even if the situation is supposedly hopeless, something new about the situation will be revealed every time someone tries something. So, for instance, there is a famous show that we will probably talk about one day because it's such an icon of weird, The Prisoner.
Okay.
In every episode of the show, and I don't think I'm spoiling too much, the main character, the titular prisoner, tries to either subdue the weirdness of the location he's in or escape from it. And no matter what he tries to do, he always fails. But even though he fails, there's always an Pyrrhic victory somewhere else.
Okay.
There's always something new he learns, or he defeats one particular adversary, or a new level of how fucked up the situation it really is revealed to him. And that's where I think that's one way that could have improved this movie, is if we learned a little bit more about how weird the situation was every time they tried something. What?
When you said he learns more about how fucked up things are,
yeah,
for whatever reason, I instantly thought, like, oh, he saw a goat eating a puppy. At one episode, he's like, oh, what's behind this door? And it's just a goat eating a puppy.
Oh, my God.
Oh, things really are bad on the island.
I was just watching Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, the other day, and that is the sign that the devil is around, is that the cows start eating the hyenas. And they're like, that's not how it usually is. That's the opposite. It must mean that the opposite man, Satan, is around.
I don't know, I kind of like that. That's kind of metal.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a good movie, in my opinion.
But here we are in the first Twilight Zone episode.
Okay.
This is Twilight Zone episode number 1. We're in the place we can't get out of.
Right.
Now, Billy and I, as you probably know, are house flippers. We're constantly...
Absolutely.
We flip water bottles and we flip houses. So, but we're not in this together, like the podcast. We're rivals. Bitter rivals.
Bitter rivals.
Like the Protestants and the Catholics in Northern Ireland. We have our own troubles.
Oh my god.
What, is that insensitive? To the hundreds of dead people?
No more insensitive than the episode of Captain Planet that was supposed to teach kids about what the Troubles were.
Oh, I don't remember that episode.
Neither do I. I was just reminded on Twitter today that it exists.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, okay, so
we have some houses we're going to try to sell to each other.
yes.
And they might be a little spooky.
Oh, no!
So, Billy, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I would prefer if you go first.
Okay. So, Billy,
Yes.
let me tell you about this house.
You tell me about it.
2 stories. 6 bedrooms.
Okay.
3 bathrooms.
Sounds great.
A basement.
Okay.
A pool.
Wow.
There's one catch.
Okay, what's the catch?
It's made out of worms. So, because it's made out of live worms,
Right.
that will never die and will always be wriggling.
Right.
I don't know if, like, should you die in the house, if they will consume your corpse.
I mean, that'd be convenient.
I suppose if you don't want a burial, or
It would save a lot. I mean, the funeral industry is such a money pit. Like
this
is a great way to save on disposal. They'll just eat all the waste.
True.
Yeah.
And I guess you could just throw your garbage on the floor,
Right.
And compost it right there.
Right.
I mean, you're gonna sink up to your ankles in these live worms.
See, okay, so this is my question. I question the structural integrity of a bunch of writhing worms stacked on top of each other for 2 stories and a swimming pool.
I can promise you this.
Okay.
It will not collapse. It will not collapse.
Okay.
You won't be crushed, but it does sway in the wind. And, again, you're going to sink up to your ankles.
Right.
It's going to be slimy.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you give me a lot to think about.
Asking price, and I've knocked a little bit off because of the worm thing.
Right.
But I added a little bit on because there is a basketball hoop.
Oh my god, I love basketball.
Also made out of worms. The net and everything. It's honestly
everything.
it's beautiful. Like you can really see God in the design.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
$500,000.
$500,000. Okay. I mean, you're tough but fair. So I'm gonna give that I'm gonna put that in the old thinky box. Right. I'm gonna think about that for later.
What about you, property brother?
In the meantime, yes, I do have a house that I think will just be perfect for you.
Okay.
So this is actually it's out in California, sunny California. It's
opposite coast, kind of an inconvenient commute, but
right, but like it's a wonderful place. It's beachfront property. It's designed based.
I don't like the beach, so we're off to a good start.
Oh, but it's a good part of the beach.
Oh, okay.
It's a good private part of the beach. It's quiet.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about all the idiots running around.
Well, I'm worried about global warming and the encroaching sea levels.
Sure, but this house is on stilts, so you won't have to worry about it for a while.
Well, I'm afraid of heights.
You'll like it.
Okay. I mean, you're spinning a great line so far.
Right, thank you. So the house is great. You like beachfront property, and
I love being
good.
I love being 40 feet up in the air.
Fuck yes and yes but. And the house is great, and the architecture is based around like 60s futurism. Everything is super streamlined and cool. Here's the problem.
Okay.
It was the former house of Gene Roddenberry.
Oh, no.
And he does haunt it. Now, he's not a poltergeist or anything. He's not going to make a lot of a mess. But he does like to talk about his ideas a lot. And unfortunately, most of his ideas are about Ferengi sex. So
I was going to ask if he was going to try to have sex with me.
I don't think he'll have sex with you. If you have a woman over, he might have sex with her.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a problem. But
yeah, no, that's a big problem. Like, I don't want to... Listen.
Yeah.
Even though we are rivals in business...
Sure.
I don't think I'm going to buy your ghost rape house.
You don't want to be making breakfast and then just have a ghost in your ear saying, like, the Ferengi have 6 dicks. You don't... That doesn't sound like a good time?
Not my problem. Again, my problem is the ghost rape thing.
Oh, it's such a small issue.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's not a
Again,
problem you have to worry about.
I would love...
That's a problem for your guests.
This is not a profitable bit. I'm gonna pull the fucking chain on the dismissal of my hypothetical ghost, my hypothetical guest, being raped by the ghost of Gene Roddenberry. Which I know is not where you wanted to take the bit.
No!
But we ended up there, and now we have to pull the chain.
Oh, no!
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But this went well. We'll try it again. We'll do another round later.
We'll try it again. Where the fuck are we in this movie?
After walking, they're still back at 9.
Yes.
But this time, there's a box out front filled with toiletries and food.
And everything is...
very generic.
Everything's very generically labeled, a lot like Repo Man.
Repo Man.
Everything.
And the food is all vacuum-packed.
All vacuum-packed. And, again, nothing has any flavor. At this point, I wrote down, okay, this is definitely aliens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gemma goes off screaming for the box culprit to come out. Come out and show themselves.
Yes.
Jesse Eisenberg, man of action, rips up the box and sets the house on fire.
Right. Again exactly what I would do.
Yeah, no, that makes... I didn't even think about that, but that makes perfect sense. Like,
yeah.
Fuck this place. Like,
fuck it.
You're trapped. Like, might as well burn it the fuck down.
The only thing that they do... The only thing that I disagreed with is that after that, they're watching it burn down, and then he gets comfortable and goes to sleep. If it were me, I would, like, maybe I would have passed out eventually, but I would have been trying to stay awake and be like, who's gonna fucking come? Who's gonna fucking come?
My interpretation of that on the second watch was, on the first watch, I thought, like you, was like, odd time to take a nap.
Right.
I get it's late, you've been walking, but I feel like the house on fire would be a burst of adrenaline.
Sure.
I interpreted on the second time as like, maybe the people controlling this, the creatures controlling this, put them to sleep. They obviously control the environment.
Okay, in that case, that just needed to be communicated better.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it just how quickly Jesse Eisenberg, like, fell onto Gemma's lap.
Sure.
And how quickly she followed. Like, I felt like there had to be something else.
Right.
Could be poor screenwriting.
Otherwise, it's just poor screenwriting,
yes.
Which is not outside of this movie's wheelhouse, as we've already discovered.
And here's another place where I felt like Jesse Eisenberg was horribly miscast, because after he sets fire to the place, he's walking out, Inferno behind him.
Yeah.
Gemma says, like, what are you doing? He says, I'm sending out a smoke signal. Jesse Eisenberg's not tough enough for that line. You need someone like Eddie Deason to deliver that.
Which one's Eddie Deason?
Don't worry, it's not worth it.
Okay.
If you caught that, I would have left it in, but now we'll just cut it out. They wake up, and there's another box.
Yay!
This time with a baby inside.
Oh, no.
How many times have you gotten a baby box? Do you subscribe to Baby Box?
I do!
Oh, every month a new baby.
Every month a new baby. I got a whole closet of them.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't have time to go through that many babies. I end up just throwing them out. I should really unsubscribe, but like...
Who has the time?
Yeah, it's not that much.
They hide the unsubscribe button behind like 3 different pages.
Such
you
a
have to
hassle.
click through. It's such a hassle. I'm pretty sure you end up having to just call the helpline, and who wants to talk to someone?
Yeah, I'll just pay the $30 a month.
Anyway, so the box says, raise child and be released.
Yes. Which, I'll get into it a bit later.
Okay.
Also, now the house is intact and unscathed.
There's a pretty cool shot where the smoke dissipates and you see the number 9 like literally sort of emerge from the smoke, and then the house. And
the door opens, welcoming them in.
Yes.
Again, I still love the movie at this point. Not love it, I enjoy it.
Sure.
Like, there's a lot of interesting things going on.
Sure.
And I believe about now we're half an hour, maybe 45 minutes in.
Sure.
Next we see the baby is now a young boy of probably 7 or 8.
Yeah, I remarked in my notes he looks a little bit like a young Ben Platt.
Okay, I'm not sure who that is.
Dear Evan Hansen guy.
I don't know what that is.
It's a musical.
Okay.
It's very popular. Most people know what it is. Okay.
Well, I watch a lot of Japanese girl gang movies, so kind of busy. But again, okay. I love this. I love this time jump. I love this disconcerting thing of like, well, how much time has actually passed? Like, Jesse Eisenberg and Gemma don't look older.
Unfortunately, they do establish exactly how much time has passed immediately after the scene.
Which I appreciate, because it's needed for the disconcerting nature of the child.
Sure. Which is it though? Do you like the nebulousness or do you like the certainty?
At the jump, at the very first this child, I'm like, okay, this is not a baby. I know the difference between a child of 7 and a baby. I have some college.
Okay, so you like the way that it's stacked.
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
And the child is dressed like a Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
Thus, white collared
the opening bit of this episode.
White collared shirt, black pants.
Right.
He is staring at Gemma and Tom sleeping. After the wake, they all flip each other off.
Which is great.
Another great thing, establishing that, yeah, there has been a time jump, obviously, and this relationship is not great.
No, it's not. He then proceeds to mimic an entire argument that they apparently had recently.
Again, so the movie is hitting at this point. Like, it's...
Yeah.
It drags a little bit. Your mileage may vary for how much it drags.
Sure.
But again, it's hitting this weird fucking child. And where Martin mimicked Gemma perfectly, the child sort of does it with a higher pitch, a little bit more modulation. Like,
right. It's unclear whether or not I couldn't find a cast listing for voice of the child, but the child does not appear to be speaking with its own voice, or its voice is ADR'd in later by the same child with heavy modulation.
Either way, it's not a natural voice.
It's not a natural voice.
Even when he's not doing mimicry.
Yeah. It's
I love it.
Quite disturbing.
I love it. There's so much about this movie that works.
Quite disturbing.
These are the most frustrating kinds of movies.
Right.
Where there's so much good stuff, but it just fails in the execution.
The pile of good things and bad things are way too close.
And that's where, on my first watch, I was like, the balance, the weight of seeing this once, this imagery, these concepts, these performances, I'm going to give it to the side of good. Okay.
Yeah. And then the second viewing, not so much.
I was like, yeah, I have to sort of ding it for this, and this.
But the kid's doing this thing, and Jesse Eisenberg, I wrote down in my notes, evil demon mimic kid, and immediately as I was writing that, Jesse Eisenberg said evil mutant, and I'm like, oh my god, Jesse Eisenberg and I are the same character, which again turned into a bad thing later on, but we'll get into that.
And again, the movie is talking about parenting and childhood, and children absorb what their parents do and say, and it creates who they are, and it creates what they say. Children repeat their parents.
Yeah.
The kid demands that they measure him. And as you said, here we get the concrete establishment that it has been 98 days.
98 days.
Which you need, so you realize that this boy is obviously not human.
Right.
Even though he has a belly button. Only humans have belly buttons.
That's true. He does have a belly button.
Unnatural things don't have belly buttons. The Grimace doesn't have a belly button.
That's true. Well, yeah. But, so, here's a weird thing about watching any science fiction movie when you're a sci-fi fan. You are inevitably going to view it through the prism of every other science fiction thing you've ever seen before in your life.
Yes.
So, immediately when I'm watching this movie, things start, like, rotoscope lists start playing in my brain. I'm starting to think of the child from Star Trek The Next Generation, which was born from Counselor Troy and then immediately grew into an adult within only a couple of days.
Or when Ms. Marvel
the exact same fucking thing happened to Ms. Marvel.
Gave birth to her lover.
Yeah, literally.
Who impregnated... Oh, God.
Yeah.
That could be an episode in itself.
Oh, my... we could talk about that. Or I start thinking about... probably the best example of something like this, Village of the Damned.
Yes.
Which is also about people in a small community suddenly having to raise alien children. The difference being that the alien children are actually grown and birthed from their own wombs.
Yes.
Which I think adds a level of creepiness that this movie could have used.
See, I appreciate... I'm willing to give it to this movie, one, for doing something a bit different.
Okay.
And the image of the baby in the box is great.
It is a great image.
It's great. It's very...
I just feel like character decisions made later in the movie would make more sense if
none of the fucking
baby
character decisions
had come out of her.
we'll get into it more, but that's one of the biggest problems with this fucking movie is Gemma's attitude towards this child.
Oh my god, Gemma's attitude. Yeah. Gemma, you got a piss poor attitude.
It's because she's a terrible teacher. She doesn't know how to handle children.
She only knows about trees and wind. That's all she knows.
That was the entire curriculum. That was 9 months of the year for those kids.
All you kids are ready for your final. Whoosh.
The boy runs around barking, then begins a high-pitched shrieking that continues as Gemma and Tom prepare cereal for it.
Yes.
Again, children cry when they're hungry.
The screaming from the child is literally like an alarm that a need is not being met. Anytime it needs something before bed, it needs food, there's not enough milk in the bowl. It's sort of like when one of your bars in Sims, one of the bars starts blinking.
Yes.
That's the child starts screaming. And again, props to the sound designer, the scream is not a normal child's scream.
No, it's like a siren.
It's like a siren. You can also hear like an animalistic sort of at the beginning of the scream, which just adds to the unsettlingness of it. So again, a lot of props to this movie that I said you shouldn't watch at the beginning of this episode.
No, there are good things.
Yeah.
You just forgot about the good things because you got ground down by all the bad things.
I got so ground down by this movie.
Oh, by the way, we're now in the second Twilight Zone episode where it's about raising a weird kid.
Raising a weird kid. So we're now in what's
The Good Life.
The Good Life. Yeah, it's a Good Life.
After breakfast, they scrape their scraps into a box filled with garbage. They take the box outside, then wait for the box to be taken so they can murder the box taker with a pick.
The box is labeled, put waste in here and leave outside. So again, much like real suburbia, like you have to use regulation-sized trash cans that the garbage man can pick up and with his truck, and everything has to be very carefully controlled and built and
because this is not just about the
aliens
terrors of raising a child,
and
how demanding and absorbent they are.
Yeah,
it's also about the hell and banality of suburbia.
Yes, this is Baby's first high school script sci-fi movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, nothing is subtle in this movie.
Not even
it's
a
not
little bit.
Like this is sort of there are echoes of Eraserhead with the parenting aspect.
Sure, but Eraserhead was good.
There are good things in there.
I'm sorry, that was unnecessarily mean.
Again, the movie has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Tom lights a cigarette that is mostly just filter.
Sorry, okay, never mind. I'll save it for later.
Okay. As the boy stares at him, he flicks the butt at the child.
Yes.
It bounces off, and there's this great, weird effect where the grass where it lands recedes away, revealing the dirt beneath.
It's stop motion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice little effect.
Yeah.
The stop motion combined with the whole vibe of the place reminded me of the opening of a famous British sitcom called Neighbours.
Oh, okay.
Where everything is in green tones. It's supposed to look like a suburban ideal neighborhood, and everything is in stop motion.
And that was the basis for that Seth Rogen movie, Neighbours.
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
But maybe. Who knows?
Tom hits the patch with a pick, revealing it to be some kind of weird foam. Another great detail.
This really reminded me of the moment in Beetlejuice when Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis have to dig through the fake AstroTurf town that he's built in order to dig up Beetlejuice's body.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very similar vibe in terms of like the just gigantic wood chips and shit he's digging up.
And now we enter the third Twilight Zone episode, The Hole, about a man who's obsessed with digging.
This could also be an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, because it's not necessary that this concept be sci-fi at all.
No, absolutely not. It's just about a man obsessed with digging.
Right.
Digging. So, as Gemma and Tom are busy digging, the box is taken.
Yes.
By the way, the boy is played by Senan Jennings, I hope is how his name is pronounced.
Sure.
And he does a good job.
Yeah, I
mean,
he's
it's
a child
probably not
actor.
his voice, but
probably not.
He does a good job with the physical stuff. He
Yeah.
acts like a weird robotic child very well.
Yes, he does a
Which
very
could
good
just be
job.
bad child acting, honestly.
Could be. Mina is sniffing into the mic, so I'm going to move her a little bit. Could be bad child acting, but if it is, it's utilized very well.
Yes.
Because this kid is unsettling.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's a creepy little shit.
He's a creepy little shit.
Gemma begs Tom to stop digging and listen to her hysterics about the box.
Right.
But
Which,
Tom,
presumably because we're 98 days in, has disappeared before.
Yeah. But Tom, very calmly, and I love this, communicates that this is something he can do.
Right.
And please let him do it, because there's nothing, he needs to have power over something.
Right.
And that's, I love that the man, one, clearly communicated his feelings.
Yes.
And two, that they, and granted, maybe it could be better as subtext, but he's like, I'm digging this hole. I know it doesn't fucking matter, but I need to do something.
I need something that's going to have some sort of, that's going to change our environment in some way.
And it will also become a metaphor for, like, traditional gender roles and, like, the dad is at work.
Yeah.
Daddy's at his whole job.
Daddy's at the whole job. Yeah. Yeah.
And Tom digs all day, and this displeases Gemma because
she's stuck inside the house with the kid, I think is what the implication is.
Right. The unsettled traditional gender roles thing.
Yeah.
Where she has to be angry because she's a shrew wife.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the movie is trying to side with Gemma and trying to make out Tom to be this toxic masculine figure, but it doesn't work, at least for me.
No, because
for me, throughout the entire movie, I just keep looking at Tom and being like, I want to do what that guy's doing.
You want to dig a hole?
I don't want to dig a hole, but like, the decisions that he's making.
You want to be an absentee father.
Right.
That's
absolutely.
your dream.
That's my dream.
You want to have a kid just so you can ignore it.
Exactly. I want a kid to never know my face.
You know what's going to happen then?
Yep.
Your kid's going to get, like, in the Big Brother program, and you're going to get dad cucked.
I'm going to get dad cucked?
Yeah.
Makes sense. No, I've always wanted to leave this world knowing that I have inconvenienced a child. So that would be my dream.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Leave the world more inconvenient than you found it. That's what society is meant to progress towards.
I was raised Republican, so yes, that is my goal. Later,
Tom and Gemma fuck.
They do.
And the boy watches through a crack in the door. Again, unsettling as shit.
Unsettling as shit. I would argue unnecessary. It doesn't seem to add anything to the story or change anything about their relationship or dynamic.
No, but again, it's a child thing. Like, sometimes children are curious. And have you ever seen your parents fuck?
I've never seen it.
But you know they did.
I know that they did because I have 3 other siblings.
They could have found them.
They could have.
They could have bought my baby box subscriptions.
That's true. They all look like me, though, so I have to
Well, maybe they're your children.
Oh my god. That's fucked up.
Yeah, sorry about that. We could go with the time travel angle. If you don't want to go with the fucking your mother angle. By the way, what angle would you fuck your mother for?
Pulling the ripcord on that.
Okay.
I didn't even know we had this ripcord before, but I'm going to start using it like...
It's handy.
Going out of style.
The next day, Tom goes off to dig and brushes off Gemma when she wants to help, leaving her with the boy. Again, he's a shitty dude. He's a shitty man. He has to go to work and leave, and she wants to help, but he has to do his solipsistic digging.
And he doesn't even be rude about it. Like, she says, I can help you if you want. And he says, oh, the shovel works better. The pick doesn't really work anymore. So, but thanks anyway. And then he goes out the door.
He was
honestly, the person not communicating their feelings is her. She's like, hey, I need an excuse to get out of the fucking house.
I find this kid creepy too.
Yeah, like, that would have been, and then if he blew her off then, yeah, he's a douche. But right now, she communicated incorrectly what she was trying to say, and he said, I don't understand what you're saying, but my functions are being handled right now.
It would be an interesting idea. This sort of thing where I don't know how much it was intentional.
Sure.
But Jesse Eisenberg repeatedly voices his emotions and is like, this is what I want, this is what I need. I mean, in this scene, I disagree with you. He's clearly, like, coming up with excuses, so, like...
Okay.
But at the same time, this idea that going with traditional gender roles, and with cis-normative language, that men are not emotionally vocal, and women are. This idea that the woman is sort of alien herself because she does not fit this mold where she's like, I can be free with my emotions and voice what I want.
Now, I don't know. That would have been a good direction to go in if they wanted to hit that a little bit harder.
But really, it's just, again, the unsubtle, like, oh, the woman stays home with the kid and has an unfulfilling life, and he's out there digging his holes.
Like, mayhaps the movie could have been like, she's like a manic pixie artiste character, like she wants
which she sort of is. She's a teacher. She's doing the tree shit.
She's doing the teaching thing, but she wants to move into the city with him, and she wants to like set up an art studio and do this crazy random shit. And he wants something more sedentary. He wants to be the more traditional guy. And then you have the horror story of her literally getting trapped in that situation.
That would be interesting. Like,
wouldn't that be great?
That would intensify the suburbia angle.
Yes.
Of like, I don't want to live in this fucking planned development. I want to be in the heart of the city. I want to be where things are living and breathing.
And it also adds the extra element of the person that's supposed to love and understand you just not getting what you're saying.
This is the beauty and frustration of these
movies like
nearly
this.
good movies, where it's like you can see the design so easily, but you have the hindsight. You can see how it was done wrong.
Right, yeah.
Like, we probably couldn't come up with this idea if we hadn't seen Vivarium.
Maybe not.
This is a great idea.
It's a great idea.
But it's easy when we see it done wrong.
Yeah, once you see it and it's there, it's easy to pick it apart. It's much easier to destroy than it is to build.
Later, the boy turns on the TV and watches the trippy black and white fractal channel.
Yes, and this is another moment where I got pissed off at the movie a little bit.
Really?
Yes, because on the one hand, this is a cool way of showing that the kid is an alien and a weirdo, that he's getting some sort of information out of these weird 1960s Doctor Who theme song images and the weird noises coming out of the screen. On the one hand, that's great. On the other hand, I couldn't shake the notion that the film was trying to be an analogous of television in general and saying, kids, watching TV, just a bunch of random noises and images. We're so clever, fuck you. Like, and then right after this, there's a scene with that in mind. There's a scene where they go and they listen to the radio, and listening to the radio is shown as a joyous, positive thing.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, so this part of mass market entertainment is fine. This part of mass market entertainment is not, and that kind of pissed me off.
I did not get that at all.
Okay.
I thought it was just
maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I thought it was just like, hey, we're going to tune into the Alien channel.
Right, yeah. And that's the big problem that I mentioned earlier. You have to pick a lane. Is this a dream? Is this reality? If this is supposed to be a hardcore sci-fi thriller, there are many choices that they missed. If this is supposed to be an analogous dream logic movie, then there are a ton of choices that they missed. It feels to me, at least, and again, maybe this is just me putting my own ideas onto the film, but it feels to me like the movie is running right down the middle. Yes. And is missing great ideas on both sides.
I need to revise what I said.
Okay.
I will concede your point, because later in the film, as he's watching the Alien channel,
yes,
Jesse Eisenberg and Gemma come in, like, try to turn it off, take the remote, and he screams. Like, I can see that as like a kid throwing a fit when you take a device away from them.
Right.
So there is that element there.
Okay, fair enough.
Since you brought it up, I'll get through this part. One night, Gemma and Tom sit in the car. This is where they talk about how it has a smell, and nothing in the house has a smell.
They like sitting in the car and experiencing the smells that the car carries with it.
If you had not smelled anything for a long time, what would you want to smell?
Oh, I have a pick?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Probably a pine tree.
Okay.
I think I would want to smell, like, because this I grew up in the state of Maine. The smells of the state of Maine are very important nostalgically to me, so I think if I could choose anything, it would be like a forest of pine.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Do you have a smell that you would choose?
Probably water. But they realize that the car's battery is still on, and they can still play music. They can listen to the reggae that they love so much.
Right.
I believe this is when the car plays 007 Shantytown.
What?
Yeah, that's the name of the song.
Is that the song that they're playing?
Yeah, as they're driving to the Yonder development, they're listening to A Message to You, Rudy.
Okay.
I think it's by The Specials, although that could be a cover, but that's who I know it is.
You have a much wider knowledge of music than I do, apparently, because I only know one song.
I looked up this song because I liked it.
Okay, cool.
And I believe this is because they don't listen to fucking music anywhere else in the goddamn movie.
Right, yeah.
So this must be 007 Shantytown.
Sure.
They dance, and eventually the boy joins in. Mm-hmm. The boy accidentally knocks Tom over, and Tom slams the boy into the ground in retaliation.
Yes.
Much like The Shining. But the boy just keeps dancing. It's like fucking Billy Elliot too.
Exactly.
Now, do you want to continue our house rivalry? Do you have another house to sell me?
Sure. You go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like the mountains?
I could take or leave them.
Okay. Well, this is high in the peaks of the Everest.
Okay.
It was not crafted by the hands of man.
Sure.
But hewn into the stone by, God only knows what. But it's 1,000 square feet. I don't know if that's a lot or a little. It sounds like a little. Now that I say it, for a mountain fortress, sounds like a little.
That's okay. I don't know either. We are bad house flippers.
Yeah, we are. That's why we sell to each other.
Exactly. Because we have no idea what we're doing.
We're just spitting in each other's mouths all day long.
Right, so continue. So it's 1,000 square feet, which might be more or less.
And 500 of those feet are Yeti corpses. I made a deal with the locals.
Sure.
This is where you can put your Yeti corpses.
Right.
As long as you sign up for my MLM. Well, I sell so many shakes to Nepalese people. You wouldn't believe it.
Oh, my God.
Now, asking price.
Right.
Mountain Fortress, half Yeti corpses. $6 million.
$6 million. And how much was the previous one?
That was $500,000.
$500,000, and this is
$6 million.
$6 million. Okay, so I like that you're asking more for the building not made from worms.
Yes.
I think that's a smart business tactic. I think that is smart.
I went to the Donald Trump school. His completely legitimate university.
Right, yeah, of course. PragerU, correct?
No, that's a separate thing.
Yeah, I know, I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that qualifies as a joke, but we can discuss that later.
Okay.
During the post-mortem that we have after every show.
Every week we have a post-mortem.
Mostly it's me sitting Billy down like, why'd you fucking say that? Do you know how many N-words I have to cut out of this? But did you want to buy that mountain fortress?
You know what? I'll at least... I'm closer to buying this one than the worms. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
This fucking sucker, I get him every time.
I just gave you a hard maybe. I don't think you got me at all.
Shut the fuck up. So, one of my big problems with this movie is that they were given clear instructions.
Yes.
Raise the child and be released.
Right.
Why don't they try raising the nightmare child?
Okay.
This is what the Twilight Zone episode would be, is like them learning to be parents.
Sure.
And this idea of like, okay, now it's like, you deserve your suburban paradise. At least in the Twilight Zone version would be, you deserve your suburban paradise because you proved you're a good parent.
Yes.
They never seemed to like sit down and think was like, okay, maybe that's all we have to do. Maybe we can make it out of this alive if we just raise this child right.
They don't think through the concept. So I'm gonna fuck up the timeline a little bit
That's
here
fine.
just to discuss this the avenues of decisions that are not taken advantage of here.
And I want to point out that Gemma does sort of try to raise the child, but her flip-flopping is another big problem with this movie.
Exactly. Like, so Gemma can't fucking decide whether she's going to raise this fucking child or not.
She repeatedly says, I am not your mother.
Which the movie seems to think is way more interesting and badass of a catchphrase than it is.
Yes. Yeah. But she constantly acts like his fucking mother.
Right. Now, here are some possibilities where this movie could have gone. Where this movie decides to go is, again, right down the middle of the fucking road.
Yes.
Where we have, coming up, a scene where Jesse Eisenberg decides, I'm gonna murk this kid.
Yes.
And Gemma stops him from doing that, at which point, and again, I continued to relate to Jesse Eisenberg right the moment he was going to murk the
that's
kid.
A fucking reasonable response.
That's a reasonable fucking response to the situation that you are in. I'm sorry if that makes me a monster, but I would have murked the kid.
Okay, let's again establish not a human child.
Not a human child.
And they are forced into raising this child against their will.
Right.
This is an adversary. It is not a child.
But the movie seems to think that this is like a cut and dry thing. You shouldn't kill a child. And I'm like, it's not a child though. Like, it's been 98 days and it's 7 years old. Go fuck yourself.
Well, let's first both establish that as soon as that like advanced aging happens, that's when you're like, this is a monster.
Right.
Free game to kill
it. Again, this is because I have sci-fi genre savvy that these characters don't necessarily have. But the minute I see something like that, all I'm thinking of is the child. I'm thinking about what happened to Miss Marvel, and I'm thinking it needs to die.
Exactly. Yeah, no.
I'm thinking of Children of the Damned. I'm thinking of Village of the Damned. I'm just fucking kill it.
When you are trapped against your will, and you're forced to raise an alien child, free game to kill that child.
So it feels to me like there are two options. One, kill the kid. Two, raise the kid.
Yes.
If you kill the kid, there are ways that the movie could have gone. A, you could have had them try and raise the kid and then get to a point where they're like, no, this is getting too scary and freaky.
That could be the peak of the movie. That could be the
emotional
climax.
high, and they take the pick and they kill the kid, and then somebody comes after. Or the kid is too strong for them. In which, or even then,
nothing happens. Or they're trapped in this hell.
Right. And they're like, oh man, we should have now we'll never know if we raise the kid.
Yeah.
Or you could have had them try and murk the kid from the beginning, in which case, no matter what they try and do to this kid, the kid just keeps getting back up.
Yeah.
And he keeps being like, what a fun game, mommy, and just keeps going. That would be fucking terrifying. Or you could have them try and raise the kid throughout the entire movie and have some sort of the debate still between Gemma and Tom, and maybe her influence changes the way that the kid was going to end up. It's on some level.
Yeah.
But instead, and again, I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we have that conflict brought up. We have a scene where, we have multiple scenes, in fact, where Gemma starts to almost gain a rapport with the child.
She acts motherly to it.
Almost. And then, hard cut to, the kid is just an evil Terminator robot anyway.
Yeah.
And so what's the point? What I've been sitting here for, again, feels like 3 hours, and nothing is different than what I thought it was going to be when I walked in.
Because ultimately Gemma sides on, I'm not your mother, I don't have to raise you.
Right.
But it's fucking...
It makes
so
the movie
sloppy.
It makes the movie feel more tedious than it could have, because the actions that the characters take don't make any difference to the ending. And there are ways to do that. Like, for instance, it has been argued many a time that Indiana Jones's actions in Raiders of the Lost Ark do not actually affect the plot that much. However, you're never bored watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, because he's always doing something.
Yes.
And in this movie...
But the tedium is baked into the concept of this movie.
That is true. I'm just saying they could have organized it better.
That's a hurdle you have to get over.
Yeah,
if you're going to have that as part of the concept, you need to accommodate for that.
Yeah, you need to do something to exactly accommodate for it, to make plans to adjust for the tedium.
To go back,
you didn't do it.
Catch up. As the days go on, Gemma tries to keep her spirits up. She's playing little fun games with Tom, like spitting before he does. But Tom is pretty depressed. Who knows why?
Fuck if I know.
He's distant, constantly digging. They keep going back and forth with the boy. Gemma tries to discipline him. The boy screams a lot, especially when he's hungry. Here's where I noted on my second watch, this is definitely much more repetitive. This is a lot of the same stuff.
This is where I wrote on my watch through. This movie isn't even half over. How much more is there to say about this fucking concept?
Yeah, and here's where the notes start going fast.
This is where we started to really summarize.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Tom has had enough. He locks the child in the car with the intention of starving it.
This is how in sync I and Jesse Eisenberg were. The minute he did that, right before the minute he did that, I wrote down the line, if it was me, I would have taken a pickaxe to this thing, this thing's head way earlier. And then immediately as I said that, he grabbed the kid and shoved him in the car.
But it shouldn't have taken him this long.
No, because it took me like an hour of watching the movie to decide to do that. It took him over 98 days.
And you're... The game you have to play with movies like this is like, okay, let's pretend like I was actually in real life in this situation.
Right.
All the same, like if I were actually in this situation, I would be going insane as soon as the rapid aging happened. Like well, no, I'd be going insane once I couldn't get the fuck out.
Right.
Like I would be beyond the idea of like, no, I can't kill this child because as a child, it'd be like, kill that baby.
Exactly. Maybe I wouldn't, maybe my paternal instincts would have made me not want to kill it as a baby.
No, but as soon as the rapid aging happens.
As soon as the rapid aging happens, as soon as it grows its own hair, I'm going to start thinking about the ways it could die in this house. Yeah. I'm sorry if that makes us completely unlikable. Maybe we're the only ones.
It's a fictional alien child.
Yes.
That its progenitors have kidnapped innocent people.
Right. All I can think of is
Jesse Eisenberg and Gemma are victims.
Yes, they are absolutely victims here.
Gemma steals the car keys and lets the boy out, reassuring him that everything's okay.
Jesus Christ.
Gemma is repeatedly telling the boy she's not his mother, then acting entirely like a mother, including sleeping next to it and letting it cuddle her.
So here's the thing where I wish that they had gone a slightly different direction with how the movie is set up. And I think I already mentioned this, although it may have been something we talked about more off camera. But the movie Village and book and franchise, Village of the Damned.
Musical, radio play.
Is it?
Cookbook. No.
Anything and everything is a musical these days. It could be.
True.
But so in that movie, it's a very similar concept where alien children are given to humans to raise, whether they want to or not. In that movie, in that story, the baby aliens are placed inside the women's wombs.
Yes.
And they all grow to term and are born and then start aging at a rapid rate, much like all the other sci-fi stories we've mentioned already. And this adds an extra wrinkle where it makes a lot more sense that the women have this sort of chemical bond with this hormonal bond with these children where, like, even though they know that they're invaders to their own bodies, even though they know they're alien, there's a part of them that's like, but it's Junior. And but with this movie, like, wouldn't it have been, like, with all the other magical things that happen with the boxes that just show up, like, the image of the baby in the box is great, like you said, but wouldn't it make more sense for this part of the movie if she had actually had to give birth to this child?
That would be interesting. That could stretch out the concept more.
Add to the invasiveness of the
horror
aliens.
Of, like, suddenly I'm fucking pregnant.
Right.
I can't imagine that horror.
This is not an original idea. I understand Rosemary's Baby, Alien, even Village of the Damned, like, people have done this, but still. It's used a lot because it works.
Again, this is the frustration with the almost good movies. It's such an easy framework to project better ideas onto.
And this is where I wrote, Gemma was complaining about Tom killing the kid, and I wrote down one of my favorite insults from another movie. I don't give a two-penny fuck about your moral conundrums, you meat-headed shitsack.
What's that from?
That's from Gangs of New York.
Oh, I didn't think you enjoyed that movie.
I think it's very weak sauce, but that line, especially for Scorsese, but that line is very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom sleeps at the bottom of the hole.
Yes, he doesn't sleep in the house.
Now.
He's a whole man.
He's a whole man now, and there's no going back.
That's my favorite Beatles song.
Oh, man.
He's a whole man now. The harmonies.
She's got a ticket to hole, and she don't care.
The harmonies.
Can't buy me whole. I don't care too much for shovels. Shovels can't dig me holes. Not true, Beatles.
You do your research, Beatles.
Look up shovels in the dictionary.
Yeah.
Gemma and the boy watch the clouds, and here's where it's explicitly pointed out.
Yes, that because we can't leave anything unsaid in the movie.
They don't move. They're very artificial looking. She barks a bit and howls.
Yes. Both to try and relate to the kid, and also there's an element of pain to the howling. Here's another thing that where the movie could have veered off.
Werewolves.
Sure. No. So in the beginning, again, we mentioned that Martin takes them to the village, and he offers them the champagne strawberries, and is just like heartbroken when they won't take them. And we mentioned that maybe because he's not human, he's like, oh, did I do the human thing wrong? Now, this child, as we will later find out, is the same species, we assume, as Martin. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be interesting if, as Gemma explains to him what parts of the world that they are living in are not right, those parts of the world subtly change over time?
That would be interesting.
Because, again, going from a Rod Serling Twilight Zone perspective, the immediate thing that I thought of is the kid is a cipher to see if these... to be part of a normal nuclear American family, and then to figure out how humans tick.
That would be interesting, but it would not work in this context, at least in
it
regard to the...
It wouldn't work as an analogy,
it
but it would work as a Twilight Zone episode.
mean, as a Twilight Zone episode, it's a completely different concept.
Yeah.
But in this context where they're talking about the clouds, that wouldn't work because these other aliens have been outside. They know what clouds actually look like and how they act.
Well, it could be that the alien logic that they are operating by, much like computers, have trouble recognizing the same kinds of patterns that humans do. It could be, perhaps, that they have seen clouds, they know what they look like, but they are incapable of reproducing clouds in the same way that nature does. So when they have a sort of, like, control... They just took a cloud, and it's Control-C, Control-V several times throughout the program that they've created for this place.
You know what I would love? I would love a movie where it's some sort of simulation or simulacrum or some alien-created environment.
Yeah.
But it's just done by lazy piece of shit aliens. And just really janky and shitty. And like someone's living in this like MS Paint simulation.
Oh my god.
And then they get out into the real world and they just go fucking insane. Because they can't even comprehend like 3 dimensions.
That's almost Dark City, with the
sort of
like janky ass. Everything's made out of rotting material, sort of gothic city. Another idea that I had with this idea is like things start to change. You think that gives you, as the audience member, hope that maybe they're changing their fate. Maybe they're causing the aliens to become more human.
Yeah,
and in reality they are. But this is actually, the twist would be, this is a bad thing. By raising the child and teaching it to be human, it now knows how to infiltrate our society better, and that's when the alien invasion comes. And this whole thing has been like a Cold War mock American village, like they used to do.
One of my favorite Janelle Monáe songs, Cold War.
Great.
At night, Gemma cries because Jesse Eisenberg is at the bottom of a hole.
Okay.
It happens in a lot of relationships. I'm sure you and Kaylee have been through this. She's crying. Jesse Eisenberg's in a hole.
The amount of times we found Jesse Eisenberg in a hole. I mean, the poor guy needs help.
You come home. You've been out all night carousing with your rowdy friends.
Of course.
And Kaylee's on the couch sobbing.
Right.
And
like,
you're worried. You're worried. Is this because I'm world famous Playboy? Out at all hours of the evening.
I've come a long way since the compound.
and you say, "What's wrong, dear?"
Yeah.
And she says, "The star of 30 Minutes or Less is in a hole." And you wipe your brow because it's not about you this time. And you have to deal with this Jesse Eisenberg problem. One day, the boy is nowhere to be found.
Yes.
Oh no, what a tragedy.
Oh no.
Where Gemma should be like, oh shit, the kid's not around.
And we have to establish, just before this was one of the scenes where they were like being faux endearing.
Yes.
It doesn't work. But like they're hanging out together, and she says, "You're a mystery, and I'm going to solve it."
This is during the cloud watching.
The cloud watching bit, and I'm like, "No, he's not. Kill it." But anyway,
no, it's yes, it is a mystery, but it's not a good mystery.
It's not a fun mystery.
Their garbage Mormon child is missing.
Yes,
which he's not Mormon; he's Jehovah's Witness.
That's right. That's the bit we're going with.
She goes looking for him because she is 100% not his mother.
Right.
Eventually, the development does its loop thing. She's back at number 9. The boy is there. He has the Voynich manuscript.
Is the what?
The Voynich manuscript.
I don't think
Have you never heard of this?
I have not.
It's a very strange manuscript dating back to, like, I don't know if it's like the Middle Ages or like the 16th century or something.
Mm-hmm.
Has bizarre illustrations written in incomprehensible language that no one can, like, decipher.
Is this really it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No. In the movie, this is not it.
Oh, okay.
But this is similar to it.
All right, yeah. It's a book that's written in alien script.
And it shows humanoids with throat sacs.
Yes.
Pictures of the TV fractals.
Right.
Tom is sick with whole fever.
Now,
have you ever had whole fever? Or have you only had a half fever?
When I was a child and I read the book Holes.
When you were young, you had a fever.
Yes.
Your hands felt like 2 balloons.
Sure, yeah.
A distant ship smoke on the horizon. Do you know what I'm referencing?
No, not at all. I only know one song.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
It's very triggering for me when you bring up other songs.
Sorry. Tom is coughing at the bottom of the hole.
Yes.
He's shaking. Gemma grills the boy about where he went and who he met. And here's, the movie is still doing clever things. Like
This is one of the better scenes.
This is a nice bit.
Yeah.
The boy, obviously, because he's been meeting with secret aliens,
yes,
cannot talk about where he's been.
And he tells her, I'm not allowed to tell.
I'm not allowed to talk.
Yeah.
So she tricks him, like a good mother.
Yes.
By making him do his imitations.
The implication in the scene, though, by the dialogue that's shared, is that what she said to him did affect him in some way. By her saying that she wanted to solve the mystery, he went and asked for a book to help her, and was told, we will give you this book, you're not allowed to answer any questions. Or maybe actually, now that I think about it, maybe he would it was just time for him to have the book.
I think it was just time for him to have the book.
Oh shit, never mind.
I didn't make... I hope it was this idea of, like...
Yeah.
But I can't see why the alien overlords would be like, sure, you dumbass, take this book
to her. Yeah.
But then again, it's not like she could read it.
Yeah, clearly.
But this great sequence, she has him do a couple of his impressions, as he likes to do. He's a little Robin Williams.
And she cheers for him. Again, going back to the Twilight Zone, it feels a lot like The Good Life.
Yes.
Where you have an intense threat of a child, but you're trying to be nice.
And her acting is so great here. Where it's
this is one of Gemma's best moments in the movie.
I wish the character were more consistent so the acting could shine through better.
Yeah.
Because here
in
it's
this
like...
scene, she comes off as really smart and capable.
And manipulative, and she's like...
Yeah.
This is not... Granted, parents manipulate their children like this, where it's like you have to operate on child logic.
Absolutely.
A child won't tell you the secret. You have to work around the secret.
You know what? I almost feel like we should have had a woman on the show this episode to be like...
Well, we don't know any women, aside from your wife.
Who's a little bit Mike shy, and Spring, who is going to be on for her own movie another time. But, yeah, I almost feel like I wonder if there's something we're missing out by not having the female perspective. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I think this...
I wonder if we're speaking for the opposite gender a little bit too much.
Possibly. I think we can speak from a storytelling aspect where this does not work.
Fair enough. Okay. All of my fears are gone. Fuck this movie.
She asks him to imitate the person he met today, the person who gave him the book.
Yes. And again, very cleverly worded.
Yes.
The way that she asks for
it. And he does so by inflating a throat sac.
Yes.
And I love this.
It's so fucked up.
This is so disturbing.
Yeah.
And odd. And it's great, weird imagery. The kid seems to be in pain while he's doing it. Like, it's not a comfortable thing.
Well, I mean, I'm in pain watching it.
It's veiny. It bursts through the top of his collar, like it pops
effect.
the button.
It's a good effect.
And Gemma once again realizes she's in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
And things are not good.
Yeah.
Hey, dumbass. Maybe you should have taught yourself to have a brain. By the way, at this point,
Yes.
We're an hour in.
That's right. We are an hour in.
This would have been a fantastic place to end this movie.
Sure.
This would have been the perfect place to end it.
Sure.
Where Gemma realizes, like, oh,
I fucked up.
I'm not raising a child.
I maybe should have let Jesse Eisenberg kill it when I had the chance. In fact, she still has the chance.
And there's even a great kicker line where the kid says, "Silly mother, you are home."
Yeah, she says, "I want to go home." She's crying. She says, "I want to go home." He says, "Silly mother, you are home."
Perfect end line.
Yeah, perfect.
We keep going.
We keep going.
Because it needs to be 90 minutes.
In spite of all reasoning.
The boy is now a full-grown man. He's a fully Jehovah's Witness.
Yes, and
he's
the actor
reading Watchtower.
The actor that they've hired has a great look for this part.
Yes, he's very angular, very, again, sort of uncanny valley.
He kind of looks like a shop window dummy, and I do not say that against the man.
And his voice
he looks great. He's very symmetrical.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his voice is not modulated, which is I'm assuming because the actor can convey like the otherworldliness and the apathy that maybe the child actor could not.
Sure. Or maybe because, as we learn later, he's going to very soon enter the real world.
Yes.
And he needs to have a voice that's not going to raise quite as much suspicion.
Shut up!
My cat's very upset that we're not paying enough attention to him.
And now, before they always ate as a family, for whatever reason.
Sure.
Because, again, they were pretending that they were sort of raising this child.
Because at times analogy interrupts the logic of the story in this movie.
But now, they eat in their room, which they barricade.
Yes, they barricade from the adult man. And again, I would have liked to have established why we're afraid of him now. I understand throat sac, very disturbing.
Yes.
But, like, it took 98 days to him to get to 7. How many days did it take? We never find out.
No, it's not clear.
How many days did it take to him to be what looks like 20, 30?
Yeah.
And I'm like, is he likely to assault you? Do you know that? Is like I understand.
Yeah, he never appears threatening to them.
He like maybe a little bit later, but that's circumstances are different when that starts to happen. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. What changed in the meantime? And she even says, "I wish I'd killed him now."
Yeah.
And like I'm like, well, you had presumably another 98 days.
It also doesn't It also doesn't make sense that he would still need to be with them at this point.
Right? Why is he there? Why is he there?
Yeah. I didn't think of that until just now, but he's clearly fully capable at this point.
I even wrote in the notes, he's a fully grown man. Either kill him or let them be released. Now, I know, because the minute that they said, raise the child and you'll be released, I immediately understood that released, they were meant death. Because that's the most obvious twist they could have gone with, and it's the twist that they went with.
And it's the unsubtle thing of, like, parents work themselves to death for their children.
Oh, wait, they say it out loud later.
They do.
But I knew that was coming, but at the same time, like, so, okay, why are they here? Why are they still here?
Yeah.
Why are they here?
At this point, Tom is dying of whole fever. He's got it bad. He's got stage 3 whole fever.
Right. But the couple has made up.
Yeah, and as you said, Gemma regrets not letting Jesse Eisenberg kill a child.
He says,
Number one failure in most new marriages, Jesse Eisenberg shows up at your doorstep. Says, I want to kill a child. My child, not necessarily. A child.
Right.
Random act of God. I'm gonna roll a 7 billion sided dice.
Right.
I guess 7.5 billion sided at this point. He had to upgrade, and that's the child. Well, I guess no, that wouldn't work out because not everyone's a child.
Right.
We're all somebody's child.
We're all somebody's child.
We're not all a physical child.
Right.
I'm not sure how Jesse Eisenberg operates. In his child killing ventures.
Jesse Eisenberg moves in mysterious ways.
Oh my God. I've made so many covenants with Jesse Eisenberg. My foreskin, the rainbow. But this is a universal feeling that the movie taps into.
Yeah.
You haven't let Jesse Eisenberg kill a child.
Right. And
it's a regret that we all feel.
It's a regret that we all feel. And Jesse Eisenberg has a kind of an endearing line where he says, she says, "Why didn't I let you kill him?" And
because you're a good person.
Because you're a good person. I'm like, that's very sweet of you.
It's very sweet.
It's because she's dumb.
It's
because she's
dumb. A bad teacher.
She's a
And this is why
all she knows is trees and wind.
This is why they should be paid less.
And when she's taken away from the trees and the wind, she doesn't know what she's doing anymore. Also,
Gemma needs to... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I suddenly... Nah, never mind. That doesn't mean anything. Right. Keep going.
Gemma needs to help Tom shower because he is getting old.
Yes.
And dying because his child grew up and there is no subtlety. Gemma spends her day following the boyman as he goes off to do whatever frog people do.
Right. At this point, I wrote in the notes, 20 more minutes, 20 more minutes.
In the hole, Jesse Eisenberg finds a mystery bag. What's in it? A corpse.
Ew!
How many bags have you found that have corpses in them?
Very few.
Oh.
Very few since we moved here.
Well, now I feel like my answer would be awkward. Tom climbs out of the hole. Gemma and Tom try to get back inside the house. They find the door is locked with the boyman inside.
Yes.
Boyman does not care that Tom is dying. Why the fuck would he?
Why would he?
I feel like the movie wants us to feel like this is a betrayal.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, the boyman doesn't care. He's an alien frog person. Why would he? He's a parasitic. He's a parasite.
Genuinely do not understand what the movie wants me to feel at this point. But follow the analogy, this is where the what's the type of bird from the beginning?
Cuckoo.
The cuckoo has thrown the actual denizens of the nest out and taken over.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
But it's not a one-to-one comparison because they're not children.
This is what we call
a sloppy metaphor.
A sloppy metaphor, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, look it up in your textbooks, kids. This is what we call a sloppy metaphor. Look for it in your textbooks under Zootopia.
Somehow, and this is a problem I had by day 98, where Tom somehow still has a bit of a cigarette left. Like, if you're a smoker, like, even if you're like, okay, I realize I can't get out and get more cigarettes, I need to make this last.
Yeah.
By day 98, you're not down to the filter. That filter has been eaten for the precious nicotine it contains.
Yeah, no, seriously, like, he makes those cigarettes last, and even as a non-smoker, I was like, I don't buy it for a second.
Not a second.
And that could have been a great intensifier of tension.
Exactly.
Just
he's
like
so frustrated.
We already mentioned The Shining. He's dealing with his alcoholism. Why not have Jesse Eisenberg be like, oh my god, I'm out of nicotine. I don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah,
I can't handle the stress.
Again, it's part of the domestic drama.
Sure.
Gemma and Tom chat a bit, and Tom dies, but not before some mediocre Jesse Eisenberg acting. Sorry.
It's okay.
I know you disagree.
It's fine. I thought he did a fine job, but I wouldn't give him an Oscar or anything.
No.
But he was talking about, remember right before we came here with
the wind? I love the wind. And I didn't realize how great the wind was.
I wrote down, tell me about the wind,
I love that Patrick Swayze song, She's Like the Wind.
Tell me about the rabbits, Gemma.
Boyman returns with the body bag, just like the one Tom found in the bottom of the hole.
Yeah.
Which is where Boyman tosses Tom after he bags him up. Maybe if Tom wasn't an asshole and played by Jesse Eisenberg, I might feel more of Gemma's pain, because she's like she's doing a Toni Collette in fucking Hereditary.
Literally, and it's so sad because she's
giving her fucking all. But I don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit. The movie doesn't give a shit. When Toni Collette does that in Hereditary, I don't even like Hereditary. But in Hereditary, when Toni Collette does that, the camera is on her.
And that's preceded by a legitimately disturbing and upsetting happening.
Sure it is. And then you have, he's dragging Jesse Eisenberg's bag, throwing it in the hole, and the camera is impassively third party. It's far away from the action.
It's very impersonal, you're right.
She's crawling and going...
Because they need to capture him and her.
Right.
But again,
there are other ways you could do that. You could shoot it from her perspective. She's literally crawling on all fours. Have a shot of
her like head on, like going towards the camera,
reaching towards him, and then a reverse shot of him moving away from her with the body.
Because this adult boy, the boyman, does very well. He has a nice physical bit where he very flippantly puts the body in the hole.
Yeah. I don't blame this movie on the actors.
No, absolutely.
I'll just read this bit. I wrote down in my notes, oh, that's what they meant by released. They meant death. What a twist! Because that was my attitude at this point.
Yeah, like I said, I don't care. There is a great bit where the boyman mocks Gemma sobbing. that was nice and brutal. And
yes.
Like,
again,
if it had been shot better, if it had been constructed better,
if the movie
that would have been
sucked
a
up
devastating moment. Especially if they had like really tried to raise him.
Right.
And then at that moment, he was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck your pain.
Exactly.
You're just a fucking parasitic host for me.
Right. And at this point in the movie, it feels like it comes out of fucking nowhere. Yeah. It feels like a moment from a different movie.
Well, all through that bit, like his adult bit, like he's been openly antagonistic towards him. Like it's,
sure.
But like if they had really tried.
But it doesn't feel like it comes from the other 2/3 of the movie, is what I'm saying.
Again, here's where we enter the fourth Twilight Zone episode, where technically it's the culmination of all the other three.
And suddenly it's Little Girl Lost.
Yes.
Actual Twilight Zone episode.
But thankfully, the movie has one more little trick up its sleeve.
And this is pretty neat. This is pretty neat.
There's 10 minutes left. Gemma texts the boyman with the pick. God, you're so bad at that. Gemma attacks the boyman with the pick. He, at a great effect, he lifts up the curb. And he scuttles underneath. Gemma follows. We see a twisty, angular space, like the Nine home, but like...
This movie this part of the movie reminded me a lot of a classic Doctor Who episode called Castrovalva.
Okay.
Which is a very similar idea where... there's a location called Castrovalva.
Castrated vulva.
Right, exactly. The Doctor and his companions enter in, but then are unable to find the exit. No matter where they go, it always leads back to another part of this circular location. In the end, the device that is maintaining the location starts to break down, and they have to make their way out, but using the best special effects they had at the time, which are not very good, but they get the idea across. Much like in the sequence, everything was uniform, and now everything has suddenly become very disjointed and MC Escher and all over the place. Which leads me to believe that, much like in Castrovalva, British character actor Anthony Ainley is responsible for this entire thing. He faked his death, and he and his massive chin have come back to wreak havoc.
Well, I believe Mr. Ainley can do whatever he wants.
I do as well.
Gemma falls through a door. She's in another home. There's a red filter. Another boy. A woman sits at a table sobbing.
Yes.
Gemma sinks through the floor and comes into a green filter room.
Now, before that, the woman who's sobbing acknowledges Gemma's presence. Yes. They see each other. And again, wouldn't it have been cool if earlier in the film there were these shadow demons that kept wandering around and then sinking through the floor, and they were like, we only see them every couple of years, what's going on? And then you find out it's when people like almost escape.
Or this happens at the hour mark.
Right.
And now she meets another woman and she's like,
yes,
we're trapped in this nightmare, what do we do?
And we change up the goddamn formula a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Again, that's something that they would have done in The Prisoner. Not here. Yeah.
And in the green filter room, we get our last disturbing image, which is one of my favorites. A couple is having sex while their creepy boy stands in the doorway and claps.
And applauds them, which is...
It's so fucked up. That's fucking
great.
Goddamn nutty.
Now here is... I feel like a broken fucking record. But so's the movie. Another missed opportunity here. The next scene that we see is a man who's slit his wrists in a bathtub to get out of the trap. He's killed himself to get out of the trap. I'm like, I like that. I like that we see another way this could have gone.
Yes.
But there's a movie that you brought over for us to watch one day back when we first started watching movies together. Very low budget, entirely improvised. What's the movie called?
Coherence?
Coherence. And there's for me, the best moment of that movie that also involves a lot of repetition.
Yes.
And at the very end of the movie, a character goes through and sees an insane amount of alternatives that could happen.
Yes.
She just sees alternative after alternative after alternative. And to me, that was the strongest moment of the movie, and it really, like, where the concept really got to me.
Gotcha.
And I felt like they could have done something like that here, where you could have seen, like, a bunch of couples and all the different varieties of situations, and at least one where you find out what happens if you actually kill the kid. Because I can't believe that there are so many couples going through the same thing and nobody tried. Nobody ever tried. They're like, oh, we'll kill ourselves, but nobody tries to kill the kid.
You could do this at the 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
Like, you could do this earlier. Like, you could have all their searching and trying to get out, condense the raising the kid shit, because there's a lot of repetition, a lot of dumb shit that doesn't even out with the flip-flopping of the character.
It's unneeded.
And then have half the movie being exploring these other simulations, these other traps.
Sure.
Again, this is so unfair. Because
You're right.
we did not have to come up with the concept.
Yeah.
It's cliche, hindsight is 20/20, but it's easy to look at something and be like, oh yeah, you should have done this, and this.
The armchair quarterback, the backseat driver. That's all we're doing is we're being dicks.
But we're not being dicks.
I'm being a dick.
We're not being dicks. We have to remember that.
Yeah.
It
takes a lot of people and a lot of work to make a movie.
And again, there's a lot of good stuff in this movie.
Sure.
There's a lot of great imagery, a lot of creepy, unsettling things.
Sure.
It just gets bogged down in the construction.
Sure.
And it happens. Like, I'm happy with the movie that I got.
Okay. I'm not, but that's fine.
It's not worth more than one watch, but...
No. Yeah.
As you said, Gemma gets dragged under a bed, emerges into a blue filter room. There's a man in the tub who has slit his wrists, like Stanley Uris in It.
Oh, yeah.
She winds up back home, where she dies. She gets bagged and tossed in the hole.
But before she does...
Oh, yeah.
There's a brief exchange which wraps up the whole movie, where she says, she's like asking, what was it all for? What was the purpose of my life? And he says, you are mother. Mother must raise the child and
Mother
then
prepares
die.
their sons for the world.
Yes.
And then what happens? They die.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. No. It's like this movie is fucking Martin Luther. Just banging on a church door like, here's my 95 thesis about suburbia and parenthood.
Oh my God. What a fresh take. What a good fresh take you have.
And then, of course,
I too like Monty Python.
Her classic line gets one last time where she's getting bagged up and she says, "Mom, mom, mom, mom," and he unzips her and she says, "What did you say?" He's like, "I'm not your fucking mother." It's like, okay, that's a theme.
What he does is he imitates her from earlier in the movie. He says, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He imitates her one last time. And this is, again, now I'm not pitching a good movie. I'm just pitching a satisfying movie. Where at some point during the film you introduce some form of explosive. And as he's zipping her up, he's like, what? Unzips, he's like, I'm not your fucking mother. Turns out her finger's on the button! Her finger's on the button!
Oh shit, the bomb's still alive!
Oh no! Click! Boom! And he's like, oh no!
Instead of like some weird tree climbing groundskeeper, Jesse Eisenberg's a demo expert.
He's Hugh Grant from Lair of the White Worm. He just has dynamite. Oh my God.
So she gets tossed in the hole.
Right.
Boyman leaves the development, goes back to the realty office.
One cool subtle bit of special effects. After he buries them in the hole, the grass immediately just
comes back
regenerates.
Over. Yes, that was great.
Which is a great sort of like AstroTurf thing. Is wonderful.
Attention to detail like that.
Yeah.
Only adds to the frustration.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that
here's what I'm beginning to wonder.
Lorcan Finnegan has good ideas and good sense of vision. I don't know if he wrote this. I didn't note that down because I stopped giving a shit.
Right. Here's what I wonder. I wonder if this was like a screenplay that got they were able to sell it to a studio because of Jesse Eisenberg and to a lesser extent Imogen Poots connections. But the studio was like, this is good. I like this. Let's fuck everything up. And like maybe it's like Passengers, where there was an interesting script and an interesting idea at one point, and then it just got like sort of fucked with forever.
It's very possible.
Because that happens in Hollywood every day.
All the time.
I just found out about the first draft of the movie yesterday, which is a movie I thought would have absolutely no point and no potential to it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it turns out the original script was actually freaking awesome.
I'll have to look into it.
So
I feel like this movie was sold on the concept of, like, it's all one set.
Probably.
I feel like that was a big selling point.
Probably.
And then they went from there.
Yeah, I think you're very likely
because we
correct.
talk about that sometimes too. It's like, if we were to do something, what could we do easily?
Right, we don't have
and
money.
Lorcan Finnegan has his it's in the industry.
We have more money than Wakali would, but we don't have money.
Boyman leaves the development, goes back to the realty office,
and then I want you to guess what he does next.
Martin looks pretty old.
Oh, poor Martin.
Poor Martin. Martin. Boyman takes his name tag, pulls out a body bag. Bags him, literally tags him.
Yes.
I love that detail, that there is some sort of receipt.
Yeah.
That these aliens have a bureaucracy. They have, that's a great thing that should have been explored more.
That's great. Vogons. They're all Vogons.
He then rolls up, the last good detail in the movie, he rolls up the bag like a sleeping bag.
And the sound design continues to carry the movie as we hear crack.
Yep. And then he stuffs him in a file drawer. And again, the sound design, great. You hear him slowly rolling down a chute.
Yes. That was pretty great.
2 more victims come into the office as the Boyman sits like a creep.
Yeah.
And that is Vivarium.
And again, the last scene doesn't work for me because the minute the kids started imitating them like Martin did, I was like, okay, so he's going to be the new Martin at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then at the end, aside from the kind of clever bits with like the crack in the chute, which was funny.
Yeah.
But like aside from that, those little bits, all I'm sitting there is waiting for the thing I already knew was going to happen. And then it happens, and then the credits start rolling, and I was like, well, glad that's over. Click.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty obvious, but I don't know why. There was nothing in the movie. I don't feel like there was anything in the movie to key me into this. But at the end, I was almost expecting for Gemma and Tom to walk into the office again.
Yes.
Okay.
I was expecting that until we saw other people in the other colored houses when she went into the thing.
Gotcha.
Because at that point, this is the thing. Like, if either do a dream or do a sci-fi reality, you can't do both at the same time without a much better balancing act. Sometimes Neil Gaiman can do it, but if it had been a dream where we cut out, much like Eraserhead, like we said. Also, by the way, Eraserhead, he killed the baby. Spoilers for Eraserhead. But he was smart enough to kill the baby. But you have, like, Eraserhead does not, the main character of Eraserhead does not enter the narrative like a normal person. We don't see his job. We don't see him interacting with coworkers or having a 9-to-5. We see, the minute he's there, he's already part of the world we're about to encounter. Like, his mind operates on the same, maybe not the same, but a similar dream logic as everyone else in that universe.
Yes.
And when you see something like, again, I'll go back to the nail I've been hammering this whole thing, Village of the Damned. When the people enter the story, you realize that they are people with similar life experiences to you, and therefore it's fair enough that you can enter into the universe imagining that this crazy shit is just as crazy as it looks.
Yeah.
This movie refuses to choose a lane. And again, another example of a show that doesn't choose a lane but does it better, I would argue, is also Twin Peaks.
Yes.
Twin Peaks also runs that line, but Twin Peaks chooses when it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
And is also fucking entertaining as fuck.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm running out of steam with this movie.
No, we're done.
Yeah.
You don't need more steam.
Sure.
We've made it to the end.
We made it to the end.
Do you want to do another round of house selling, or do you still have nothing?
Let's try it. You go first. Let's see if I can come up with something.
Now, this house.
This house.
It's sort of avant-garde.
Okay.
It's sort of different.
Sure.
It changes the paradigm of houses.
Okay.
What you think of as a house, you're not going to get that with this.
Okay. So shelter?
But it is a house.
Okay.
Conceptually.
Okay. I'm getting a not pizza from SNL vibe here.
I feel like you're already judging it. So that makes this difficult.
Sure, fair enough. Fair enough. I should keep a more open mind.
Yes.
Should keep a more open mind.
It's a lake of blood that screams. No rooms per se, but technically everything's a bathroom.
Right.
Just not a shower.
Technically, anything could be a bathroom if you believe in yourself enough.
True. So it sounds like you're in the mindset to buy this lake of blood to live in.
What's the asking price?
It's not really money.
Oh, okay.
It's not really money.
Okay.
You have to surrender a significant part of your morality. And then you can live on like a houseboat on it.
Right, okay.
Have you ever been on a houseboat?
No, I haven't.
I think I have.
Okay.
Although it might be a false memory.
Sure.
Maybe I was abducted by aliens.
I mean,
instead they were like, let's give you a pleasant memory of being on a houseboat. Although from my memory, houseboats aren't great.
These are the aliens you were talking about earlier in your pitch.
Exactly.
Their fake reality they build for you is just janky as shit.
Just a not great houseboat. It's
like
crowded.
It's like Ted Danson in The Good Place. It's just good enough that you don't want to complain about it, but like it's not that great.
Exactly.
There are clown pictures all over the place.
So, so what are you thinking? Surrender part of your morality to get this lake of blood that you could live on in a houseboat?
Is the houseboat included?
No.
I think I'm still leaning towards the Yeti house.
Okay.
Because it is...
The Yeti house is very popular. I have a lot of askers.
I admit that I am a little bit close-minded when it comes to my conception of a house. But I will say that I've like you, I've been exploring the space. I've been exploring the space of what could be considered a domicile. And so my offer to you... I want to start off with the asking price because it's a little unusual.
Okay.
The asking price is what you got. Like, just what you got. Whatever you have on your person. If you have, like, a Venmo account, like, whatever you have in your bank account, just anything and everything you got.
Okay.
Is what this costs. And, it's like you said, it's sort of expanding the definition of a house.
Are you stalling?
And you give me the money.
Okay.
And I go and get it.
Okay.
And because maybe I'll show it to you.
Okay.
Right.
This sounds like a great deal. I'm a big fan of J.J. Abrams. I love a mystery box. I'll invest everything into it.
Sure.
But at the same time,
yes.
This feels like a scam.
Well, I'm not sure what made you think that.
The lack of product, the unfirm off asking price.
Sure. If you're not interested in it, I also have a Bowie knife I could stab you with.
I do like Bowie.
So there you go. Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
Okay.
How about this?
Okay.
I will trade you the lake of blood that screams.
Gotcha.
For your family's ancestral land.
You know what? I don't think I'm going to get a better deal than that, so done and done.
Property Brothers. That's what they call us. We're the official Property Brothers. Don't Google it.
No one has ever been called the Property Brothers before us.
Nope. So, Billy, do you know what you want to talk about next time?
Ooh, I've had a lot of different ideas dancing through my brain, so absolutely not.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. Thank you for joining us on 1000 Wives of Weird, and maybe watch Vivarium.
Maybe. Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.